What is up, guys? Bingo here. I'm with the Dual Factor for this week's episode of X2 Drop, our Yu-Gi-Oh podcast we do, talking about whatever we feel is relevant at the given time. And this week, there's not a lot to talk about, but there was something pretty interesting that could spark some conversation. That is, PPG just decided to release an alternate ban list for their online tournaments in the meantime because they felt it was in the betterment of the player base because it was just Konami did not do anything, obviously, for various reasons. We can speculate. But the bottom line is PPG decided to ban Krishan, Helka Fibrax, Black Dragon, and limit Eldest of Scarlet Sanguine. So I'm going to throw it over to Joe about his initial thoughts on the hits themselves, as well as how he feels it's going to be, is it going to be implemented well? So first off, what do you think about the hits?
I mean, it's definitely better than the Konami list, which there was a lack of hits, personally, thinking. That being said, I think it's interesting that instead of just kind of slowly easing it out of the format, that they just decided just to completely uproot Krishan Needle Fiber from the format altogether. I'm not entirely sure if that should have been done or not, just because I think Needle Fiber, yes, the Needle Fiber combos are kind of annoying and stuff like that, but it's an interesting card that can be played in every single deck, no matter what it is. So I think you just took a tool away from everyone. I love the fact that Black Dragon's gone, because I don't think that card needs to be in the format, period. So I think PPG got that part right, at least.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's reminiscent of people who remember ARG formats where they tried to make their own list. But I think PPG did it right and they didn't overdo it. Whereas in the ARG format, when they initially did it, it was a big change. But I'm not entirely sure how this is going to go versus how that happened.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it because, again, the Konami list, if they were speaking strictly from player enjoyment perspective, it needed to be a massive list. There needed to be a lot of adjustments. I don't know how many bans, limits, and stuff like that, but they didn't do anything. So PPG banning Krishan Needle Fiber, yes, it takes a tool away from the best decks or every deck available, but the reason it's hit is because the best decks abuse it the most and get the most value out of it. That combined with Link Cross just gets these absurd combos, and then when you throw Block Dragon into Adamantipator on top of all of that, it just becomes absurd. Searching 3 free special summons that all generate advantages, just not fun for anybody. Because the reason you just see one generic hit for every deck being Needle Fiber, because that card is just too good and it doesn't facilitate any healthy gameplay in a deck that's worth a damn. Black Dragon, Adamantipator was just ludicrous for a combo deck. And then Eldest, which is just to slow down the grind game of Eldest. So it all makes sense. You're just knocking down the top 2 decks a large margin, and everything else takes the same hit. So I could see why they did it. But again, I feel like it's gonna be a neat concept in the beginning, like you were talking about, and then it's just gonna fall. The player base is gonna be split because you got these PPG tournaments, and then real life play will start picking up soon, and then you got people deck building for online PPG, and then you got people deck building for real Konami play, and it's just what then?
I don't know. It'll be kind of interesting to see, so as you were saying, IRL Yu-Gi-Oh! Is starting to slowly pick back up as, everyone's starting to open back up slowly. It'll be interesting to see if the PPG actually keeps that list for their actual, tabletop events whenever they actually get back to doing the Pro Play Tour. But I think PPG has something that they can actually do that I think is unique if they keep it specifically for their online tournaments, if they keep actually hosting them even after this stuff, if they have decent enough turnouts. And you could keep the online format completely separate from the actual IRL format. I think that'd be a cool concept. The problem is when you start branching, and then ARG also saw this, But when you start branching off and doing like your own ban lists, you leave a lot of stuff that can actually just be blown out of the water, right? Like for example, I was watching Cody Angeloff stream this Saturday, and he was playing in the LCS, which is playing by the regular format, not the PPG one, right? And he was talking about the PPG list, and he was talking about how it was completely dictated by the committee and then like the voice of the players for the actual tournaments and stuff like that. And the biggest problem that the PPG list has is, yes, it corrected what the or powering down the top two decks, but all it did was take the current format and take it a step back, right? So like the decks that were doing well beforehand, like the Dragon Link decks, and we'll say like the Sun Links, like Guru Control and Altergeist. I'm trying to think of what other combo deck there was before that. Oh, the Shadal decks and stuff like that, right? Like those decks were like resurfacing as like the best decks of their format. And then like you still had like Adamancipator, which was like kind of watered down, but like all it did was just, like I said, take everything a step back. And I don't know if that was like what they were looking for, but like that's effectively what that list did. So
Yeah, I feel like Adamancipator and Eldest, like obviously they're both still playable, but the way like we give Konami a lot of shit, right? Whenever ban lists come out, but they're not just focusing on the top, like what's the word? Dialing back the top decks just like a hair in this situation where there's just these two decks that are miles and miles ahead of everything else. They address those decks and then they address the couple decks like right behind it so that it kind of like really shakes up the format. And I know we just talked about like PPG can't do something like that because then there's too much of a divide between regular Yu-Gi-Oh and then their tournaments, and no one wants to play in like two completely different formats of the same era, I guess. Like it's not.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
You end up doing the same thing ARG did. Because they took it to an extreme. I don't know if you remember it or if anyone else who listens to this remember it, but I remember back in 2014, I think it was either late 2014 or early 2015 when this happened, but ARG decided to branch off from the Konami ban list because we were in that little like state where we had like an eternal ban list. We never thought we were going to get another one. And they're like, well, we're just going to take it in our own hands. And then they started making their own list, and they used to change it after every single one of their events because the guy who ran it, Jim, his ideal top 16 or like whatever, how big his events got, his ideal thing is he wanted 16 different decks in the top cut. And that's why he kept changing the list, or their committee kept changing the list every single week. But it was getting super out of hand. Like I remember I thought the first one was out of hand because like Trish was gone, Dante was at 1, Construct was at 1. I think Shadal Fusion was also at 1, and then they brought cards back like Stratos, but then they put Bubble Man to 1. And then so on and so forth. And like it really, really shook up the format, and like it was super interesting to watch, but then it just kind of like increasingly just got out of hand as it like evolved, and eventually they just kind of took away from it because then a lot of the players, and it's like it's a common mindset between everyone that I've seen in like at least with the like general like public of the community. But like a lot of people just, if they don't go by the Konami ban list or if it's not a Konami event, they don't care. You know what I mean? Like no one cares about the results.
Yeah, and right now, our biggest source of data analysis for tournament results is, I would say, argue the PPG, because they're doing the most, or from what I can see, the most online tournaments consistently and posting the results. And when they have this divide, people are going to care about them less. Because people, no matter what, no matter how little tabletop Yu-Gi-Oh we get to play right now, people are preparing for being able to do that again. You see that in pre-sales, you see that in price spikes, and like that's what people are trying to prepare for because they're bored and they want to play Yu-Gi-Oh. When you have this split, it's like, what's the point of looking at these results right now? Because we're not getting a ban list for 2.5 months right now, right? The TCG.
Yeah.
So who the fuck cares how the PPG tournament went if they're a completely different format? Now, I know it's just 3 hits, but it's still, those are three pretty big hits.
It's 3 hits of their own format, but like their format no longer like represents like what we're going to be going back to. That's the biggest problem of it, and people are just going to dismiss it at this point. Like, yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch of people who hated the cards, and they're going to thoroughly enjoy PPG events. But the problem with that is, it's like you're essentially playing in a make believe format when it comes to official events, right? Like, because that's not how a Konami list is going to be. Like, there's still going to be needle fiber combos. Block Dragon's still going to be a card. Eldest is going to be untouched, and it's still going to be one of the 4 front runners, along with Adamant Spader and stuff like that, as the format comes. Plus, we have Toon Chaos cards coming in. So now, I mean, you have the Chaos Space card coming in, and then like these decks are all going to be at full power, and people are going to get so used to playing. The people who are playing them anyway will get so used to playing PPG events, so when they go to a regular event, they're not going to know what to do because they haven't been testing or playing against these cards. So that's where the PPG list kind of has a huge shortcoming, because now everyone who's playing in it is just going to be at a huge disadvantage, and it's going to start losing popularity, and that's where the biggest problem lies.
Yeah, I do wish Konami became a little more fluid in this specific time in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where we don't really know, like, there's nothing really going on. So why put the ban list update 3 months away? You know, like, why wait that long to update it? Like, I honestly, if they said it was going to be 30 days after the last one, and then that list came out and is like, okay, no changes, or we want to do this one thing, like, I'm okay with that, because that shows a little bit more involvement and attentiveness on the game. Because right now it's going to be 6 months basically before there's any touch to any card on the ban list. Like, those peel-offs were cool. Like, I'm really excited for 3 Unicorn, but I want the company that runs the game to feel like they care about it. Because, like, right now it's strictly monetarily driven, and you can see that. Like, all the problem cards are brand new cards. They don't want to touch them. So,
well, yeah, no, for sure.
So why give us a 3-month just wait period where we have to sit here and, like, have no hope?
No, which I totally get. It's like one of those things, right? Like, in a lot of YouTube stuff like that, like, they mention it. It's like, yes, I understand, like, the ban list, like, update that we got was, like, super lackluster, right? Like, compared to what we usually get is super lackluster. But I think a lot of it has to do with, like, a lot of people who actually go in and, like, design the ban list and stuff like that, and actually add their, like, input and stuff like that, solely base it off, like, actual attendance of live events, not online stuff. So if you think about it, if they solely base it off of, like, how their events were, like, turning out and stuff like that, there's not really anything they could actually hit or make a difference, because no one's been playing. It's all been online, right? Now, obviously, we as a player base, we know what, like, there's, like, cards that just have to go, or, like, things that need to be rotated out, or there has to be, like, a semi-limit here or a limit here or anything like that. But if you're basing it solely on your actual tabletop attendance, and, like, there's just nothing to go off of. So I understand that part, and that's why I think PPG might have, like, actually been in the right for making their own list. But at the same time, it's just like, I could go on for days, honestly, about, like, the topic itself, because it's actually, like, super interesting when you actually dissect it down to its actual core. But I mean, it's what we have. Like, if you don't like the current format, go play in PPG's online tournaments, you know. But if you want to stay in tune with the current format, you're gonna have to deal with all these decks, and, like, it's a super, like, it was disappointing, but, like, it's a super interesting time at the same time, because, like I said, the peel offs are actually really cool. Like, 3 Unicorn, Multi-Faker. I could care less about Multi-Faker because those people are the worst kind.
And then, are they really worse than Ritual Beast players?
Yeah, they're kind of neck and neck. Like, it's kind of cool to see Ritual Beast. Like, at least I'm not dying to, like, 13 different back row. I just know that deck's only playing 2 different trap cards. So, I mean, it's not as bad, but I can understand.
Yeah, I mean, it's Canahawk's one of those cards that if you look back on everybody's, like, ban list predictions for the past 3 years, like, it's not on there, but like, a lot of them mention it, and it's like, why is this card still on here? Like, the deck sucks, and even if it had it, like, at least it can Elder Rampengu. But I'm really glad for the peel offs. Like, I really am. I want Konami to just acknowledge that, these decks are possible, or, like, these cards are possibly a problem. Like, I think it's really unfortunate that we got Needle Fiber and Link Cross so close together because I just think that those two cards are so unhealthy when you put them in the same like period.
I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna say I thought Needle Fiber would have been completely okay if we didn't get Link Ross at the same time.
Yeah.
So I feel if you get, and this is just speaking out loud because obviously this is not gonna happen for 3 months and the card's way too new. But if they could have outright just, either A, not printed Link Ross or just banned it, I think it solves the Needle Fiber problem for the time being, where the decks can still play and do like cool like Auroradon combos, kind of. But like it's not going to be the extent that we're seeing now. But
It's so
like I said,
it's so bizarre that we got Link Cross so quickly. Like they held on to Needle Fiber for 2 years, and then when they release it, it's right next to this other token generating like degenerate card that is already banned.
Sure.
It just got banned in the OCG, and like we know that card is a problem, and it's not going to stay legal forever. But I agree with you. I was going to get to that point in a little bit where Needle Fiber makes Link Cross absurd.
Oh, it 100% does, and I'm like super thankful that like Summon Source was gone way before Link Ross came out. Just putting that out there.
I couldn't imagine living through. Did they have Firewall, Needle Fiber, and Summon Sork?
Yeah, bro. Like it was insane. Like their Needle Fiber era was like way worse than ours. Like leaps and bounds worse than ours. Could you imagine that? Like you're sitting there, you're just like doing regular combos, and your opponent's like, "Hey, you want to see something cool?" And you're like, "Nah." And they're like, "All right, cool. Link Summon Source off into Link Ross." Bruh, I'm not going. I'm not going.
But yeah, I mean, jumping back to the actual hits themselves, like Block Dragon has always been just an absolutely ludicrous card, but it just didn't have an insanely broken home to fit in. And now that Adamantipator, which I think is still an extremely cool deck, and I really like the design of it, so I'm not going to complain about that. But being able to search all three of the researchers that all special summon themselves for free, and then excavate and special summon, or is it add to hand? I honestly can't remember.
Oh no, me personally, like Block Dragon just 100% needs to go.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Like don't get me wrong, I love the card design. I think it's super cool. But when the Adamantipator deck like just got built, I'm just like, nah, Chief, I'm not trying to play this anymore. Because like you're saying, you can search all the miners, right, or the humans, whatever you want to call them, and they're like all insane. Like they let you, if you think about it, if you resolve all three of them in the turn, you get to see the top 15 cards of your deck. Like what? Chill. Yeah, and then only that, like the card you can summon off of them too, or like even search other than those three like researchers or the tuners. There you go. You can search Doki Doki. You can search the Go 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 engine. You can search Gigantes, or if you're playing the Rock Spirit, there's other like the Weeping Idol card, I think it's called. Like there's just nothing but extenders and stuff like that you can search off of it, and just keep pushing forward. Like, bro, that's insane.
And then they fuel your synchro plays, so you're going to make Raptite, possibly get a fucking Guardian on the field, and then make Crystal Wing or whatever the decks are doing these days. Like, there's just so much advantage generated that you just never feel like you're out of gas, and then you can just do it all again.
Actually, now if I'm thinking about it, if you're going second and make Dragite along with like Raptite and all that stuff, if memory serves right, you can like look at the top 25 cards of your deck in one turn.
Yeah, which is nice. Black Dragon's it's like a dragon ruler that is not once per turn to summon itself.
Or I wish the dragon rulers were like literally half as powerful as Block Dragon, bro. Like that would have been insane.
Yeah, but and then as far as Eldest goes, I'm actually not that knowledgeable on Eldest. I haven't really played against it because I haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh. But this seems to be like a decent hit.
Oh, it's a solid hit for sure. Sanguine actually is like, to me, Sanguine's honestly probably like the best card. Like, it does a lot. Like, it searches, it summons. It's just like the ideal follow-up play for the deck, and like it's the perfect way to get Golden Boy and stuff like that. Like, I think it's a solid hit, but like I think that deck still has a lot to work with, because I think another streamer that I was watching actually made the point of Eldest is still like a super solid deck, And the only difference now is like, yeah, you have one sanguine, so you have to pay. I think it's white elixir. I think the card is. You have to
Either
play
white or
more of
black.
those. Yeah, they already play the black, but the white one, I believe, is the one that they have to start playing now. Which I'm pulling it up real quick just to verify what it does. But I mean, that's like the only like true difference in the deck, and that's kind of scary. So I mean, yeah, you hurt the consistency of the deck a little bit for sure by putting sanguine to one, but I mean, like it doesn't do what they intended. So I think Eldritch might actually still be the best deck in their format, but that's just me.
Has the needle fiber hit basically made Eldritch not a synchro variant anymore? It's back to control.
It's more stun, but like there's like still combo builds of it that are really good. Like yeah, we lost like the needle fiber over an ARG format, but I saw a lot of people when they were testing it, they just went back to the Mayakashi build and like it does the same thing, just not nearly as like aggravating. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So overall, like if there was any like official like tie-in, like Konami, like if Konami partnered with PPG in some way for like online tournament hosting, like that would be really cool. You know, like Konami's like, hey, we recognize that we don't have an official online platform. You guys have a voice. Like, yeah, we're backing you, even though we don't back Dueling Book or online platforms at all because we're fucking assholes.
Yeah, they know shit.
And you guys can update your individualized ban list like once a month. Like, I think that'd be really cool, but again, they will never ever do that.
It's like the one thing like these things are missing is just like actual backing from Konami, and then like, they just be infinitely better.
Yeah, because
I 100% agree with you on that one.
Because then they would have, like, they would acknowledge the tournament results at that point, which means we don't have to wait. Because what I see happening is September is again a relatively light ban list, and then because that's when I foresee like between September and December is when like actual tournament play is going to like pick up a little bit. Maybe not regionals and YCSs, but locals definitely should be hosting official tournaments by then, and then they can actually use something. I don't know, but
I don't know. If there was ever a time for Konami to actually get involved, pandemic was the actual reason for them to actually get into it, and they just not once ever took the initiative, and it's actually really upsetting.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that a few times, but I don't know what I expect from Konami anymore. Like, sometimes it feels like they knock it out of the park with their decisions, and sometimes it just feels like, are they even playing the same game?
Yeah, no shit.
Like, their product releases, like, I know a lot of people are upset about Toon Chaos, like the actual set list. Like, I really like most of the set. Like, I wish we got a couple more new Toon cards. The Chaos cards I think are fucking amazing.
Don't even get me started. Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's like really cool. And I think the Toon cards, they did a pretty decent job. Like, they could have done better, but Toons is never going to be good. If you're holding your breath for that, like, you better sit down and just die of suffocation, because you're never going to be able to breathe again.
I think my favorite realization of the new Chaos cards, like Chaos Space, if you think about it, any deck that plays a light or dark attribute card can now guard Dragon combo, and I'm super excited.
Yeah, Chaos Space, knowing the TCG and the degeneracy that they do, I can see that card 100% in a couple months just having a target on its back.
I cannot wait for us as a community to either get this card put to 1 or 0, just like we did Seconds Light. I am so excited.
The card is just nuts. Like, all the Chaos cards have been inherently powerful throughout the entire game, basically. Like, way back with Chaos Sorcerer, BLS, Envoy, and then the baby dragons, and any light or dark monster that just says this card cannot be normal summoned or set. You can search that card.
I used to never be like this. I actually used to be on the opposite end on it, but man, now the more and more I think about it in my deck selections, I love being part of the problem. I love it. It's fantastic.
Like, I'm all for these types of cards. I think they knocked out. Was it? There were 5 chaos cards, right? I think they knocked 4 of them out of the park. I really like the one that's
What
the
is
single
it?
summon.
It's Space, Daedalus, Creator, Forever, and
The little level 4 one.
Yeah, the Valkyrie. There you go.
Yeah. I think the Valkyrie is really cool. It does something no other chaos card does. It fills your graveyard. And it can banish light or dark, which is really nice. Creator is just fucking ludicrously good.
That card's beautiful. God.
Like, it could have only done one out of those 2 things, and it still would have been amazing.
Bro. Man, I want Colossus back. Give it to me.
Oh, I don't know if that's safe anymore. I was in the camp of it's totally fine, bring Colossus back, but that card, or these cards for that deck are just really, really good.
Give it back to me, John. I want it.
I mean, you can. I'll give it back to you. But
give it to me. I want it.
That means nothing.
That's fair. PPG format. Here I come. I have a great idea.
Yeah. How come they didn't limit Colossus on their list?
Because they're assholes.
How do you feel about that? They literally just addressed the top 2 decks, and like, I know we're talking about minimal changes, but really, like you were saying earlier, did it just fall back into the old best decks are now the best decks? Like, I saw a lot of Dino popping up.
100%. I think honestly, like, they were on the right track, but all they did was just put the format literally back 1 step. So, like, I don't think it accomplished what they wanted. Like, it accomplished something, just not to the degree I thought they thought that was gonna. I just repeated myself. Anyway, yeah, it didn't do what I think they wanted it to do. That's the problem.
Well, I hopefully will be keeping an eye out to see how things go. But honestly, I'm not dying to see the results of the PPG anymore, because it's like, I'm not deck building for this. So I don't know what I'll do. I'll probably just sit at my computer and watch some anime.
I'm interested to watch, but that's about it.
Yeah. Make-believe formats are fun. I guess it's kind of like watching Worlds, It's like, I don't get to play in this, or like, I don't have to play in this format.
The greatest once-a-year gathering of a make-believe format that everyone watches in our community. Same thing, just more often now.
Yeah. So, you got any final thoughts on the subject?
I don't think it's nearly as bad as people make it out to be. I can understand why a lot of people don't want to participate, but like I said, I think it's like it's a breath of fresh air to some players, and others it's just the same still air. But more importantly here, the real subject here is Douglas French is still lacking sauce.
Piccolo, you have no sauce. Hey.
Well, I do want to say that I'm in the camp of I want to see what happens, because I do want to know what if these cards were hit. But for me to get fully on board, it has to be a Konami ban list, or else I'm just going to be in the camp of, oh, that's kind of neat, and I'm going to go back to deck building for tradition or standard format. So, but guys, if you have enjoyed this video, please remember to check us out every single week. We go up Monday, 8 a.m., iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and a whole bunch of other places. 10 a.m. on YouTube. If you guys do have a topic idea, shoot us a message on Twitter or YouTube, and we'll be more than happy to talk about it, because there's not a lot going on right now. So with that being said, I'll see you guys back here next week.
Okay, bye.